Hello and welcome to the very first video in our introduction to commercial AV design. In particular, this video we're going to talk about what is the AV industry. I wanted to put together this as a kind of a crash course for commercial AV design. I thought it would be a good idea to build out an overview of this fascinating but unregulated, non-standardized and currently poorly documented craft. And while I know we've got a lot of extremely experienced members in the community, I wanted to make a resource that even a complete beginner can kind of work through and come out with a well-rounded understanding of what, why, and how we do things. So I will be recording new modules regularly. I'm experimenting with the format and the content as we go. So if you think this can be improved or if you feel like I missed anything important along the way, please let me know. If you want to go deeper on any of these topics, please mention it in the communities tab and I'll be happy to dive in. And just a bit of a disclaimer here, I'm drawing on my experience as an AV designer and consultant of 15 years working in London and New Zealand. This is not going to be a purely technical information course, but a sharing of my understanding, and that will include my perspectives, which also comes with my biases and limitations. I'm making some generalizations about around a massive industry, so some of the things I say will be wrong in some cases. I might use some different terminologies or approaches depending on where in the world you're from. If you notice of any of this stuff, please point it out. For me, it's super interesting. It helps me get better, and the whole point in our community is to exceed the understanding of any one individual. There is a caveat to that. Unless you want to talk about imperial measurements, then you can just bugger off. Please watch this at 1.5 times speed if you want to save some time and get through it all quicker. And as I said, in this video specifically, I want to define what is the AV industry. This will be painfully elementary for most of you, but I think it's important we really start from the start. So let's break it down. AV equals audio visual. Hopefully you're with me so far. Audio being what you can hear, speakers largely, and there's all sorts. So in these images here, we've got ceiling speakers, sound bars, pendants, big PAs or outdoor speakers, and this by no means covers everything. And then on the sources, the input side of things, we've got microphones, we've got video content, music, and video conferencing systems. Visual is what you can see. So we've got projectors, interactive screens, tiny little room booking screens, massive indoor LED screens, massive outdoor LED screens, video walls, which are essentially screens made out of screens. There's a whole lot of screens going on the visual side of things. But what you can see is really only the beginning of the onion. In between those inputs and outputs is really where a lot of the complexity, cost, and design happens that the uninitiated is usually unaware of. And this is really where a lot of the magic happens. And I think it's important to note there is really a core element missing from the term AV design, and that is control. Control systems let us automate sending commands to all different kinds of equipment. This helps us orchestrate complex control and organize how things work from a single user interface. And what started out as just turning on a TV and changing the amplifier volume has now expanded to controlling many aspects of the building, including lighting, blinds, temperature, room combining, access control, space management, and more. In many cases, these building systems are not provided by the integrator, like for instance the air conditioning units, for example, but they are being controlled by the AV system from a singular integrated interface. And that interface could be a keypad, it could be a touch panel, it could be an app on your phone, it could be your voice commands, or even sensors not requiring any direct input from the user at all. Now, Wikipedia defines the AV industry as follows. Pause this if you want to read it. It's a decent crack at defining our amorphous industry. But the key term here is really system integrators. In my part of the world, we call them AV integrators. I think our American friends call them custom integrators or CIs. But the key word really being integrator. So the integrator is a specialist at taking a whole bunch of different technologies from different brands and integrating them together or combining them into a single solution. And this is also where our control systems come into play to be able to coordinate all this individual parts and bring it together into a single system or solution. In my mind, I break AV down into three main branches. We have residential, often called resi, which is essentially where people live. A lot of that started out with hi-fi and that sort of things and has developed into the automation side of things. Now, we don't cover residential inside of the community or inside of this course currently. Then we have commercial, which is our focus, which covers nearly every building that isn't residential. So we're talking about offices, meeting rooms, university lecture spaces, hospitals. There's an exceedingly large amount of technology going into modern hospitals. Churches, where AV is a vital tool in creating moving experiences. Airports, courtrooms, command and control rooms, and again, I'm only touching on some of it. Next is Pro AV, and so here we're thinking pro as in professional. We're thinking about big concerts and festival speaker systems, theatres, professional recording studios, the film industry, the broadcast industry, which is sort of becoming the streaming industry really. And then finally we have experiential AV, which is kind of not quite pro or commercial, it's kind of in between the two. And here we're thinking about art installations and theme park rides and those kind of custom experiences. Now there's definitely a lot of overlap, as I say, between commercial and pro, but generally you'll find that products will be split into these three buckets between residential, commercial and pro AV. So as you can see, AV touches nearly everything, and you can actually keep pushing this definition out so that you can then move into like web-based services, and I don't really think there's any hard edge to it, as there's so many companies doing something with audio visual, but practically speaking, that's kind of how I define the industry. So who are the key entities in this world? Well, we've got the clients who need the solution, and they are paramount. They're paying for the party. They're really who we're doing this all for the clients and the end users. We have the manufacturers who make the products, and the distributors and resellers, which essentially get that product from the manufacturers, distribute that, get that into the hands of the integrators, and handle a lot of the support and training side of things. You've got some manufacturers that will handle all of the distribution and sell to the integrators and do all the training, and then there's, again, a large network of distributors and resellers. Also, depending on where in the world you are, if you get to the more remote parts of the world, then it's going to land more heavily on the resellers to do the training and the sales and support and that side of things. Then we have the AV consultants. So the AV consultants, and I'm talking specifically around independent consultants here, and we're going to talk about this in a lot more detail in a few more videos coming up. But essentially the consultants represent the client. They are the expert that the client engages and pays to help advise them through the whole process of essentially specifying and purchasing their new system. And then the AV integrators, who we've touched on, they design, sell, deliver, and support these AV solutions. Then we've got IT companies, which are coming in as kind of a bit more of a newcomer into the space, as we have more commoditized systems like the Microsoft Teams systems, which are becoming easier to deploy. We have people who are not traditionally inside of the AV industry coming in and deploying, particularly in the meeting room space, and so they are now definitely well and truly part of the ecosystem. And then finally, the construction industry. So we have retrofit systems. So if a building already exists, an integrator might come in to put a system into a building that already exists, in which case none of these guys have anything to do with it. But a lot of the case, we're talking about new buildings, and so the AV part is happening inside of the construction process, inside of the larger building construction process. And so we are working with a lot of the people inside of the construction industry, the project managers, the architects, the main building contractors. So that's quite a big part of the new build side of things. So in summary, AV equals audio visual. Hopefully we can move that. I just realized I'm on the top of all these slides. AV equals audio visual. Control is a really important part of AV and how that integration happens. AV touches on a lot of other industries around the world. AV integrators integrate, or they combine different parts to create a complete solution. The AV industry broadly consists of residential, commercial, and professional, and commercial AV is largely works inside of the construction industry and the construction process. That is it for this video. I wanted to keep these really short and concise. Hopefully that gives you a good kind of high-level overview of what the commercial AV industry is. In the next video, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the AV design side of things. See you in the next module.